My name is Cameron Martin, and I am a third-year communication major here at UCSD. And I am pleased to introduce Miss Jamie Lloyd, the undergraduate advisor for the Comm department here at UCSD.
Hi.
Hi. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
She has been a part of the department for 27 years, and we are just honored to hear what you have to say about the Comm department here at UCSD.
Thank you.
So, Miss Lloyd, how would you describe the communication department to others?
When I tell students about the major, I would say you're going to critically analyze, you're going to think about all sorts of different forms of communication, which means, television, film, magazines, production, documentaries, how the internet has changed the form of communication, how what's going on globally. We just are starting to get very excited about the new major on campus, global health, community health. Our students are interested in those things. We connect with a lot of different kinds of majors because everybody communicates in some form, one way or the other. And so thinking about these things rather than just taking them and saying, oh, okay, I see that front page of the newspaper that's got this picture on it. Instead of thinking, why is it look like this? Who are the people that it's intended for? What are going to be those effects on this kind of culture, this kind of socioeconomic status, these people that are lower income, whatever? That's what our students think about. They go beyond just taking the information, they think about it.
Wow, that's beautiful. As the main advisor, how do you consult with these students?
Well, a long time ago, they would come in and we would talk face to face. I thought that was wonderful. And as technology has advanced, more things are online. And now there's online advising. We've always had a policy in our advising offices. The students can come in anytime. And I never refer them, just go to the website. Look at this, look at that. I will always welcome them to come in and talk because it's a much better experience, I think, for the students to see a person, know they have a person to talk to, rather than just a machine screen.
If you don't mind sharing, what are some frequently asked questions you get?
The parents want to know what kind of a job students can get with a communication degree.
Okay.
The students want to know how they can get hands-on experience, rather than they say, well, I don't understand. It's a lot of reading, it's a lot of writing. How am I going to get a job with this? That's a very common question. Then there are the basic, I'm planning my schedule for next quarter. I want to see if I've taken enough courses, what I need to take for next quarter. And I have answers for all of these.
Is there anything else you would like to share with current or prospective students in general?
I would highly recommend communication as a major. For one, I know it's a little bit tricky and it's gray on what is communication, but employers want students that are able to communicate. Basic reading, basic writing, and then an extra step of our students, like I said, can critically analyze things and think about them. If you look at what's going on worldwide right now, when we come into having a presidential election, all of these things, social issues right now, these are topics that would be taught in our classes. Students would have an assignment, go read the paper, come back and talk about, why is it that, what happened in the Ferguson case, things like that. These are issues that are important for students to learn, and they're fun to learn about.
Oh, yeah.
Very fun. I mean, popular culture, it's broad, but a specific course on, what's going on in the Middle East. These are interesting courses that are contemporary and current.
Oh, yeah. It's like not just taking it off the headline, but just like you said, really understanding the background, critically thinking.
And it's a fresh curriculum. It pertains to today as
feels
well
alive.
as historical. Yeah.
Love that. Thank you so much for being here today, Miss Lloyd.
Okay. Thank you for having me.
And we're back with Professors Goldwasser, Professor Goldfarb, and Professor Hallin. Thank you all for being with us today.
Thank you.
First, with Professor Goldwasser, we have her focus in media, language, and cultural studies. Then with Professor Goldfarb, we have pedagogy, disability, and visual studies. And then we have with Professor Hallin, news, media, and politics around the world. So our first question. Can you briefly explain about your research, or at least your personal interest in it?
Yeah, so I study media and politics. I started out writing my dissertation about the media in the Vietnam War, and I have written a lot about the evolution of American journalism, and then at a certain point I started getting interested in media and politics around the world. So a lot of my more recent work is comparative work about how the news media are different in different parts of the world and why they're different and how they relate to the political process. And I work particularly on Europe and Latin America.
My research is really based on ethnography. I work first in Trinidad and now in Central America with a group who also has a large community in LA. And most of my work has been with narrative and ritual and cultural traditions, folkloric traditions. But today you have to move into media studies and the use of media and the revitalization of the language. And I work with the Griffna community in Los Angeles in a school trying to keep their culture alive through traditions in the use of media.
Very cool. How about you, Professor Goldfarb?
I have a pretty interdisciplinary background. I started in the visual arts doing sculpture and media art, and became involved in education and curating later on. I worked running the education program at the New Museum of Contemporary Art, and a lot of my work was involved with community-based media. And that is, and I was also teaching in the schools in New York City, and that's where I really became interested in the differences of abilities of people and the ways in which that got shaped by sort of cultural ideas and media. And so I sort of combine visual media with ideas about how we think about people's ability. And it's often called disability, but I'm thinking about ability more broadly.
How about, can you tell us about specific classes you enjoy teaching?
I teach courses in popular culture and folklore in a variety of classes. Right now I'm teaching a history, media, and popular culture that really is so pertinent today because popular culture is everywhere in our lives, and we have to learn to think more critically about it and how it shapes how we think, how we view our memories or view our histories, and how we behave in the world today and interact with others.
For sure.
I teach a class on the American news media, sometimes classes on Latin American and European news media. Right now I'm teaching a junior seminar on communication and health. I'm writing a book now with a friend who's a medical anthropologist about media coverage of health and medicine. And so, often we're working on a particular project, we develop a special class around that project. So that's what that class is.
Very nice.
The last couple of years, or last few years, I've been teaching the large intro class that all the comm majors have to do. And I've been enjoying that more than I thought I would, because it gives me a chance to think about the perspectives the students get coming in, and also wrap myself around what all the different people in the department are doing. But in terms of courses more focused on my own work and research, there's a course I've been doing since I came here 13 years ago called Digital Pedagogy. That's half practicum done in the schools and half seminar, and it's a class that's very gratifying. A lot of the students seem to get a lot out of it and come back to me years later and say it influenced what they did. And then I've been teaching courses around media and disability and care. It sort of connects a little bit with what Dan's working on, ideas about health, but how we think about care and caring. And I've really enjoyed that.
So a lot of UCSD students mistake the communication major as developing their social skills, such as public speaking and interpersonal communications. Why do you think that happens?
It's sort of funny, but I do think that we do develop those social and communication skills. I don't think that we should say that we don't do that, but we do it within a context of reflection and critical understanding.
So the idea is to give a much broader perspective on processes of communication, how they change historically, how to think about them in a critical and creative way, how to innovate in the use of them. And in that way, we think that we give people a much more lasting foundation. And all the reading that you have to do, that's connected with developing the critical and creative faculty that you're going to need later on.
Definitely.
At the same time, we do that with an emphasis that we learn it at least in part, and sometimes significant part, through hands-on interaction. So although we're not teaching the vocational, One of the real strengths and things that students like about our department is the involvement in internships, the involvement in practicums, and even in the other courses, the opportunities to work multimodally. To, instead of doing a paper in some classes, they might do a performance, or they might develop a photo essay. So the variety of assignments we've been pushing out of saying, okay, this is just a production course, that production, or what we call practice, is sort of filtered into all of the courses.
So we're seeing a lot of what's in the communication department and how it sort of interacts with outside programs. How would you define the communication major for students who just see it on a piece of paper and think, oh, well, that must be public speaking? How would you define it?
It's very broad. Okay, that's the first thing to say. It focuses centrally on the various forms of media and the various kinds of technologies and symbol systems and so on that mediate human interaction with the world. Okay, so that ranges from language and visual images to technologies like radio and television and the internet and so on.
Yeah. It gives you that foundation critical thinking. And when you think about communication, think how broad that is. How many different ways we communicate through not just our language, but through technology, through the media. That's why it's so broad here. It has to be that interdisciplinary to address the importance of communication today.
I think that's it for our questions. Thank you all so much for being here today.
Thank you.
Thank you. And we're back with Norris and Daniella, both undergraduate students here in the Comm department, and both with a focus on media production. Thank you both for being here today.
No problem.
Thank you for having us.
Of course. Now, can you tell me a little bit about yourself?
My name is Daniella. I am a senior. I'm in Eleanor Roosevelt College. I'm actually a transfer student, so this is my second year at UCSD. I do a lot of media production, but I'm actually going to law school next year, so.
Exciting.
My name is Norris. Strangely enough, I'm also a student of Eleanor Roosevelt College, and also a transfer. So this is my second year at UCSD as well, and I also have a focus on media production, mainly because what I studied in community college was more along the lines of like communications in the journalism field. So it kind of like segued into what I do now. So.
Okay. So you're telling me a little bit about the journalism and for you law school. So the next question is, what made you really choose the communication major? Is it something along those lines?
I originally chose communications because I think growing up, or just going through high school, deciding what do you want to do, I wasn't really sure yet, so I wanted to pick a major that was broad enough to get into everything, just keep my options open. And it just so turned out that that's kind of what communication is in a sense. I remember one class taught by Professor Cartwright, where at the end she had this whole lecture, this end of the quarter lecture about how communications is in everything from marketing to law to PR and health and everything. You can get into any field, even fields you don't think that communication belongs in, like maybe biomedical or science or computer technology, because in every field there's always positions and jobs that need someone who can communicate. And to that degree, though, communication isn't just about how well you communicate with others. It's a lot of theory too about
a lot of understanding.
Right.
How are you guys enjoying your classes so far? What do you think of them?
Even if I have a lot of reading or whatever, I still enjoy it because it's things that actually interest me. Yeah. And the professors are really engaging, so.
Very cool. How about you, Norris?
So the communications program at UCSD in particular is actually very different. I mean, they even state on their website that this is a course that's unlike the other communications that you'll find in other colleges across the globe. And in that sense, a lot of our core classes are very theory-based on communications and the history of it and how it came to be, how today we have the impact of media, as well as these other things that we see are interactions in a sense with technology and how we update ourselves with our social media. It's this whole web of things, and it's really, really interesting when it gets to the theory of it. But what I like about a little kind of dark horse of the communications department is the productions program, which it's classes like the TV studio class, the advanced filmmaking class. So I like how it gives you kind of both the theory and also the opportunity to practice the craft.
Completely agree. So you both sort of hinted at what you want to do after graduation. Would you like to expand on that?
Like I said, I'm going to law school, and like you were saying, Professor Cartwright did a slideshow, I guess,
remember that day.
or yeah, on the different careers after graduating from Comm, and it just got me thinking, and that's how I came to decide that I'm going to go to law school.
So before you come into UCSD, I actually did a couple of internships for like major companies for brand marketing and like awareness, and it was then that I kind of realized that once I saw that, I was thinking to myself, do I really want to do this? So coming here, like whereas before I already had this broadcast journalism experience, the production programs here have let me like cultivate my more creative side, and I think it's really important to consider the kind of like what's really going on behind some of like the news or in a sense like media in society, and that's why preferably after college like I'd want to go into that and be able to make a change, I guess, for the better.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, thank you both so much for being here with us today. I even learned a lot from you guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks again for having us.
From all our interviews today, whether it be from the professors, the advisor, or current students, I hope anyone out there is seeing that communication here at UCSD is more than just interpersonal or public speaking, but even more, it's sort of a lens at how we look at our world.